Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons Through the Ages Part 4 The Wizard. I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM, and to my right,
Troy the Planescape guy.
to my left,
Gwydion the Long-Winded.
well-earned nickname. This is 5th edition The Wizard, and we are going to get right into it by saying thanks for joining us today, Boss Katie and Mike.
Hey!
Anybody
Thank
else
you.
who's out there, please be sure to comment. Mr. Producer is back there. We can open up any of these books that you like. We can answer any of your questions live. Just let us know what you'd like to see. In other news, like, share, subscribe, do a little dance. Wherever you see this video, we really appreciate the feedback and the support.
For not finishing that.
So
About every Wednesday, at least we try every Wednesday night, catch us on Discord for a D&D roundtable. That way
Yeah,
you can
virtual-
talk about this. It's a virtual roundtable.
7
You can talk
p.m.
about
Central
anything. Yep.
Standard Time. So links are going to be in the description or there on the Twitch channel if you happen to be on Twitch. When we get to 5th edition, we've now got 3 spellcasting classes. We're talking particularly about the wizard, but there's wizard, sorcerer, and warlock. And we've seen where wizard, the 5th edition generally kind of follows more of the 3rd edition pattern. And we're back to having quite a stout wizard to play. So it's pretty fun for 5th edition players out there.
D6
Yeah.
for hit dice.
Which
And,
we've gotten away from the 4th.
yeah. Now,
So in 3rd edition 3.5, we finally got D6
Yep.
as a hit die for wizard.
and they gave points to the wizard. They gave 10 points to the wizard in E4.
Yeah, a little different the way they did hit
and
point
then
calculation.
4
there.
points each level. There was no hit dice, so we come back in 5th edition. Now we're back to a D6.
Yeah, we're still a little low, but make sure your con isn't your dump stat, and you should be like, okay.
Now they do give you your max plus your con bonus
Right, similar
at
to
first
3rd.
level.
Yep.
So if you got a con bonus of 3, then you're going to have 9 points to start with as a wizard. So you're not rolling dice on 1. Okay, I'll just tear this one up and start something else.
Yeah, a little better than what we saw in some of the earlier editions. So we're going to be getting into a couple of the spells here, but I wanted to talk about some of the things we could do specifically with Wizard in 5th edition there, Gwydion.
Go ahead. No, they can't use a heavy crossbow anymore. They're limited to their dagger, staves, wand staves, rods, and a light crossbow.
Yeah, so which is an expansion from what we saw even over 4th edition where we had dagger and quarterstaff,
Yeah.
but we're still limited in armor. Armor use is not something that you see with wizards.
I just want a robe of eyes. I'm fine. I don't want to be surprised. I want to see it coming. There's officially 8 wizard school categories, but they don't want to leave anyone out, so there's over 40 class options for the wizard alone to choose from. Talk about railroading. And if that's not enough, there's 14 variants as well. Okay, not railroading. So you've got all these different options for a wizard that was not available before. And I've got to say that's something they do in 5e. They try and make everybody happy. They've gotten all this stuff in from everybody. It's like, well, why can't I do this? Well, I wish I could do this. Wish my character could do this, or this class. And they try to address all that in 5e to give everybody something from like every class.
Certainly, and 5th edition has done a great job of allowing that flexibility, even when you're dealing with straight out of the player's handbook. I like the option to specialize in a school. I like that the cantrips are very useful in 5th edition. It keeps me in the fight. Used to be you'd run out of spells, and then you were kind of carrying somebody else's stuff for a while until you could go and take a nap.
And now cantrips, they've got some serious power, and as you level up, they get more powerful. So your
Firebolt and color spray, not just prestidigitation and light and all those.
Yeah,
basics.
these are real spells that can do some real damage, or some real buffing, or some real defense. And it gets better and better as they go up. And don't cost a spell slot. You always have it. So now your spellcaster is an incredibly must-have, useful part of the party.
Yeah, the whole spell system has actually been revamped in 5th edition. That's made spells much more powerful without being sort of the mud that we got in 3rd edition in particular, where you could do this or that, meta magic feed or not, became a little silly. But particularly with the ability to take a certain spell, cast it at a higher level to an extent, and be able to pull out the extra damage or extend the effect of a certain spell, really adds that extra layer of utility into 5th edition Wizards.
Do they still play meta magic in 5e?
No, the optional feats rule I don't think has many of the meta magic feats that we're used to seeing.
Basically, it's just use a higher spell slot.
Yeah,
it's use a higher spell slot.
Yeah, that's pretty much what meta magic is in 5e. I talked about wizards for just a second. You've got warlocks and sorcerers, and they separate them very distinctly.
Yeah, we saw that start in 3rd edition, but I think they really did a good job with it in 5th.
Yeah, warlocks choose between a pact, where the warlock strikes a bargain with another worldly being of their choice, gains the powers offered. Originally, there was like 10 different pact options that were around. I think they've expanded well beyond that. The patron has over 60 class options to choose from in this category, whereas the variant warlock has only 5 class options. But here again, like the wizard has 8 schools, a warlock has all these options to where no 2 players, even if 8 players are playing a warlock, no 2 is going to be alike if they start working with the tree.
Yeah, I've heard where people will detract from the warlock because they don't have as many spell choices.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they're limited in options.
No.
So, the wizard may have some more utility and they have a very greater variability in the spell choice. But they're not going to outshine any of the other spellcasting classes by any means.
Sorcerers, that's the bloodline that we talked about before. A sorcerer's from a bloodline. They have the 9th level spells covering Gate, Meteor Swarm, Power Word Kill, Time Stop, and Wish. Once they reach 20th level, which basically is again the top level they work with here as well. Just like in Pathfinder and so many others, they want you to try something different. Although there is epic levels and immortals that goes beyond.
Before you move on from sorcerer, one of the things that I do like was the inclusion of the wild magic table right inside the class.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting way to handle magic thematically. It originally came out of Faerun, and there are certain areas in Faerun that have had an interesting history with magic, and so to see that come forward into 5th edition through the sorcerer class has been really cool.
Yeah, so when a sorcerer casts a spell, see, he was on page 2, I was still on page 1. All my notes. When a sorcerer casts a spell, the DM, and for $20 you can have a copy. So the DM rolls the dice if you roll, or he can make the player roll it.
Yeah.
And if a 1 comes up, then you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, certainly the effects are pretty cool.
Some of them are pretty cool. Some of them aren't so cool. You can be turned into a potted plant for a period of time. I actually have that figurine. What's some of the effects?
Some of the effects.
What's all the effects? Have you got time?
You cast Fireball as a 3rd level spell centered on yourself.
Yeah, so you can explode.
So in 5th edition, let's just explore that a little bit further. Fireball is 8d6, unless you cast it as a higher slot.
Yeah, so as a 5th level wizard, you're starting at 8d6, which is more potent than the earlier systems.
Yes.
So it was 1d6 per level. To gain access to a 3rd level spell, you had to be a 5th level wizard, which meant when you had access to Fireball, it was 5d6. Still pretty potent, particularly in the older system, but to now have 3 additional dice for out of the gate, it's just that much more mean.
Yeah.
Roll a die 10. Your height changes that many inches. If the number is odd, you shrink. If it is even, you grow. You grow a long beard made of feathers. You cast Grease, centered on yourself.
Yeah. All these things, there's some really fun ones in there, especially ones that turn you into something different. I just keep all of those little figurines handy if I have a sort of wild magic sorcerer. Now, again, this isn't all sorcerers. This is a wild magic school sorcerer. Right. This is a wild magic surge. And just like a barbarian has that does
There's a Path of the Wolf, Path of the
Rage.
Bear. and
If they
yeah.
do Rage, there is actually a surge table for Barbarian Rage, and you look into that. Sorcery points. They allow you to create additional spell slots as a bonus action. Now, here's something that came up in 5e, and I forgot my little sheet that showed all the nice, neat little things that you could do. Ask Katie. I gave her a copy.
Hey, Katie, pass it around for the rest of the
if you would, go ahead and put that up.
Sugar notes for class.
And the bonus action is something not everybody got. And so it was important if you had one, use it. Very handy when you run out of fireballs and they are still in the plane of ice. Sorcery points can also increase an aspect, duration, range, or power of a spell. Change a type of saving throw ability rolled against. So if you were supposed to roll Constitution save on something, but your dexterity is the one that you got a +5 on, you can actually, with sorcery points, change it over to a dexterity save. For that. You could learn of a creature's weakness, which normally you do with their skills. That's something else they did in there. With the different skills, you roll against history, and depending on how you roll was the number of aspects you could ask about. Okay, you can ask me one question. You can ask me 4 questions. Well, what's its weakness? You know, how many hit points does it have? That sort of thing. So you could ask these aspects. You could do away with the preparation or concentration of a spell. I mean, that's a big one right there. If you're casting something, you got to concentrate and use some sorcery points on it, then you can let that go and cast another spell. So
it's a pretty good overview for Sorcerer. Sorcerer's definitely got some really neat thematic elements, but it's because it's bloodline. They don't necessarily always have control or the full breadth, but they balance that with potency. And we see that still where the wizard's diligent study allows them the variety. And so when you get into wizard in particular, we're dealing with you either specialize in a school or I forget the other direction that they take it. But you got these marked all weird. Sorry, Dora. Sorcerer's Origin, class featured. One thing I do like about 5th edition is the way that the borrowed theme of Forgotten Realms informs the way magic works in the game. It definitely feels very tied into the world setting. And so if you've got the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide for 5th edition, you'll start to see where those things really pair well together. And if you happen to have any of the old Faerun or Forgotten Realms box set or books, you'll see where a lot of that came from too. So we've got traditions. Here we go. So you get into all sorts of stuff where you can specialize in schools. There are so many, and then
again, it's like the school characterizations and the classes, and then the variants. The wizards, like I said, they've got 40 class options, 8 school categories, and 14 variants. Yeah,
it's hard to know, but the
wizard alone.
Again, we see the sidebar here, page 114 for a wizard spellbook. Wizard spellbook has been important for the entirety of Wizard. So while you may be able to only prepare a certain number of spells or cast a certain number of spells per day, items such as rods, stabs, wands, scrolls, and your spellbook itself can be a big lifesaver to supplement your own power.
The white box even said that it was expected of spellcasters to have a spellbook.
A spellbook, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. What do you keep it in? You gotta keep it in something. You keep it in a box.
So, with particularly the expanded utility of Cantrip, I've seen a lot more success with wizards not dying so quickly in the foreground. Not as much multi-classing as in 5th edition with wizard. Fighter magic user used to be a really popular multi-class option, 2nd and 3rd edition. Now that you've got Arcane Knight as part of fighter, you tend not to see the true fighter wizard multi-class anymore.
Well, the way Knight has a lot of magic user.
What did I say? I don't remember.
It was an Eldritch.
No, it wasn't Eldritch. Eldritch Knight was the one I was thinking of.
Was the old one?
I
Yeah.
think it was Bob. It wasn't Eldridge.
I said Bob. Okay.
Bob
But, you know, particularly where Eldritch Knight used to be a prestige class in 3rd edition,
Yes.
now it's sort of the path that you take in through Fighter to bring in magic.
Well, the way they fleshed out each one of these, there's no real need to multi-class, because the whole concentration is where am I going to go? So you've got all these choices, and once you make the choices on your basically your skill tree, and you keep going up, you're going to become more powerful. And again, the cantrips, I think, is the whole crux of magic in this, and what keeps you a spellcaster. It's like, well, I'm going to have to become a fighter to get more hit points. Well, you've got things that can give you resistance straight up as a cantrip. They can last for a while. You can use things that help your fellow man as they're going. There's attacks, there's defense, there's all sorts of cantrips that we didn't have before that now have some power to them. So you don't have to stay weak and try and get to 10th level to where you can actually do something and be a useful part of the party, as well as survive yourself. You've got ways to buff your defense, you've got ways to use offense, and ways to help your party members from level.
One of the things that is still very important for a wizard is that the fact that they can use magic, and particularly magic items. Well, we see where the magic arms and armor are sort of the purview of the fighter classes, but that doesn't limit you from cloaks of protection, boots of elven kind, rings of featherfall, all these sort of utility items that tend to get missed. It's always nice to have the +3 battle axe.
Chime of uncontrollable hunger.
The chime. That's bad. But
But it works.
you know, being able to create these sort of utility items is a bonus to your party. Being able to find and identify magic, good or harmful, before it becomes an issue for the party. These sorts of utilities are still only found in the wizard or spellcasting classes.
We still have sentient items.
Yes.
In here, so they still have sentient items, and some things actually prefer being in a wizard, warlock, or sorcerer's hand.
Particularly when we see now that they've got the attunement mechanic for certain magical items. As a wizard, you'll have better luck with certain magical items that are out there.
Now, attuned means you have to have it with you for, I think, a period of 24 hours, and it's part of you now. So it's just part of your being. You can have,
you get used to it,
you can have 3 attuned items. Many of the other items that are not attuned, you can put on, but and use as many of those as you want, or your body can handle. You can look like a complete adventure with a chest on your back, and all the stuff around you. But attuned items, they're very specific, and you have to be very selective, unless they just don't come around, which they shouldn't very often. But a Cloak of Protection +1 is one of those items everybody should have. Gives you armor +1, and every saving throw +1. Every single one.
Cloak of the Manta Ray.
Cloak of the Manta Ray. You can do 30 feet underwater on your movement. You can fight uninhibited with a melee weapon. You can breathe under there. You know, the whole 9 yards. Cloak of Manta Ray is great.
Yeah.
Now the one thing that fighters and some of the other classes get that the wizard and sorcerer and warlock do not is the armor aspect, and that is adamantine. You get something adamantine, you can no longer be critical hit.
Sure.
No crits. And I'm like, we need to come up with an adamantine robe.
It's called lichdom.
Yeah. Necromancer. Here we go again.
Isn't that unobtainium?
Unobtainium, yes it is.
Right. But it's just one of those play style differences, right? So it's obvious when you're a paladin to have +5 plate mail and a +5 bastard sword. Not so obvious when you're a wizard.
Holy sword. +5 holy sword.
Oh, whatever.
Wow, we play paladins differently.
Yes.
I don't question.
We don't play paladin, we play cleric. We hit things with hammers.
Yeah, I kind of do play cleric.
That's it.
You know,
Funny.
Because magic is sort of like it is what you do. Don't forget that there's a large breadth of magic that your character has a unique relationship with.
Mhm.
And so, you still see that thematically with Wizard in particular, who studies, catalogs, and works with magic. Even if you get into the parts where you're now in Spelljammer or you're traveling the planes, as we're going to see Planescape coming out later this year. You're as a magic user, you're in a really good spot to experience some of the best aspects of the story that we're going to be getting delivered.
Curse of Strahd's out, of course. If you can,
Has been, yeah.
if you can get it, 'cause it's kind of hard for them to keep it on the shelves right now.
Well, it's really, really good,
Yeah.
but there's some really interesting magic and lore in that as well. And as a magic user going through that adventure, you'll have some unique opportunities to interact with it.
Yeah. I apologize. I did not count the number of spells in 5e.
Oh no!
Yeah. So,
All right, come on, let's.
I'll have to do. Yeah, we'll do that now for you.
Spring man
So
really quick.
12.
Too many.
Yeah, you look in the index. But anyway, there is one issue I have with 5th edition. The real issue I have, and it's across all classes, not just the magic users, it's across all classes. Where's the healing power of using or spending a hit dice plus your Constitution modifier to heal or recover your hit points yourself come from? I mean, you can take, say you got 12 for your hit points,
Right.
plus your Constitution modifier of 3, and your 5th level, you can heal yourself 15 points 5 times, or all 5, or twice of those
Right.
during a short rest, and that's just using your hit dice, spending hit dice
It's what we call a
to
cool,
recover hit points
Yeah.
up to the maximum on your turn equal to your level during a short rest. Just out of the blue, I'm like, where does that come from? Besides,
it's
I don't want to die.
called a game mechanic that allows you to continue playing. Now-
It comes out of Saga's second wind ability.
Yeah.
Partially, but it's there's some interesting thematic stuff that goes around that, because when we used to play, if you had 4 HP and you take 3, your guts were hanging out and your eyeball
Yeah.
was out of
Yeah,
the
that's
socket,
right,
and you were
that's right.
you're about to go down for the count. Depending on how you theme it, if you're long resting an axe wound to the skull away, it's a little hard to believe. The suspension of disbelief is a trickier thing.
Yeah.
But if it's the bumps, bruises, scrapes, and exhaustion of going through all day, it's a little
It's a
bit
little
more.
easier.
Yeah.
A little
So if you, like Gwydion, have certain concerns about that, just theme it appropriate to your game, or go back to 2nd edition and make sure that have your natural healing be 1 hit point a day. And then the other thing, Corey, you can talk on this really well.
Let's roll up a new character.
Well, there's rolling up a new character. There's
Don't roll
different
up a new
types of
character.
healing,
There are different kinds of healing.
and
Yes, there are.
so while they've made the rest healing fairly potent, there's
Yeah.
other healing that you can take advantage of or make sure that's
Yeah.
more prevalent or accessible in your game.
Yeah, long rest, you're
In-
actually healed.
In 1st and 2nd edition, as well as in the original white box, healing for a full day gave you 1 hit point back.
Yeah, natural.
1 hit point of natural healing a day. Bandages and somebody with doing first aid on you.
Mhm.
Healing kit.
Healing kit, doctor's kit, whatever you want to call it. 1 hit point.
So we got natural healing
So you
and first
stop
aid.
bleeding. Magical healing. This is clerics cast cure light wounds, cure critical wounds, whatever. So that's the 3rd kind of healing. Your 4th kind of healing would be magic users can cast mend to build broken bones.
Right. So we
Which
got
is
like
three
divine
spells.
magic, arcane
Yeah.
magic,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
and then potions.
And potions.
Mhm.
Potions that do any type of healing, cure disease, cure wounds. So that's your 5 kinds of 5 ways of healing back physical damage to your character.
Now, I honestly, I allow the mechanic, and I use it because it's part of the mechanic. And if
Yeah.
a character dies, they have 3 saves,
Right.
to roll against
Yeah.
and so on. It's a nicer system to keep your characters alive, especially for new players, low hit points. Game masters are going to make mistakes. Players are going to make mistakes. I think it's good to help everybody learn and then go from there.
So the first time I ever played
Mhm.
my characters, not characters that were just given to me like a pre-gen here, we're going to jump into this and we're going to kill some monsters. My characters, when I sat down with Rick to make my first characters for the game, we made 5.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
wanted them all to be different,
Mhm.
you know, one of each of the classes or something mixed, so that I couldn't be, you know, I'm avenging my father who just
Yeah, so
died.
you wouldn't
Right.
put Junior right next to I'm avenging
So,
my father. So yeah.
I remember asking him, why am I making 5? And one of the other guys that played with us all the time, Stan, he was over there. He was bringing in dinner and stuff and setting stuff up on the stove. He said, "You'll see." I was like,
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I need an adult.
My first night, made 5 characters. I think 2 of them
Wow.
died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
My
yeah,
first
I remember dying a lot.
Yeah.
You just got to remember that 5th edition in particular has a more epic feel, or is intended to. That's why we see Fireball go from
Fireball.
5d6 to 8d6. It's why we have some more forgiving methods of healing, so we can continue those adventures. Just have fun with it, particularly if
Yeah.
you're in the magic user class. There's so many different ways to play, so many options you've got available that many of the other classes just don't have access to, or
No.
at least not in the same way.
One of the things I would encourage you DMs out there to do is to seek out some of this other material that we've shown you today, from 1st and 2nd edition primarily, that are other spells, other magic items. Find that and bring them into your 5th edition game, because everybody will love them.
Oh, sure.
And it's very easy to take one and convert it into 5th edition stats.
Yeah.
And it'll add a lot of new special spicy flavor to your game, because it's stuff that nobody has seen.
That is something I appreciate about 5th edition, is it's very easily translatable.
Yeah. The other thing that's fun is do it for your bad guys, so that your players don't know what hit them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when they defeat him, now they get the ring or a spell scroll that they can just transcribe, something cool like that. But you can always introduce it against them to start with, so they can see, you know, hey, something new is here. These guys are different. They're bad guys. You know,
Some of these spells are crazy.
Yeah. Use the history that 5e gives you, the skills in there, investigation, history, religion, arcana, so on like this. So when they come across an encounter, don't plop a figure down. Plop a thimble or a chit or a
What?
CHIT.
Okay.
Wow, I just aged myself again, didn't I?
Yeah.
Or a checkerboard piece. Put something down that represents what it is and describe it. Describe what they're seeing. Make sure you use all your senses and describe what they smell, what they see, what the actions are, what's going on, and so on. And wait a little bit before you put that figure down. Watch people's meta play, because the person may know every single monster that has ever come across.
Almost all of them.
Well, yeah. You know, so if you put down a bugbear, they're like, oh, that's a bugbear, so it's chaotic evil, don't bother talking to it, just start shooting, and so on. But if you explain what it is and what it's doing and how it's interacting with the other things around it, or just how its mannerisms are, maybe it's contradictory to exactly what it is, but explain it instead of just dropping it there, and don't let people metagame, and explain metagating to your players.
Discourage players from using, I call it player knowledge versus character knowledge.
Yes.
That your player you've been playing for 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Chances are you know pretty much all of the standard monsters and what their weakness is, what defeats them.
Here, I'm gonna just
bringing another into it. It's just like, oh, one of those guys again.
Yeah.
Well,
Number 2, change it.
Well, that's true.
Change that character,
But
or
as
that opponent.
As we're talking about wizards, allow the opportunity for your wizard's intensive study to bring that information to your players at play roles like characters.
That's why I'm saying, usually it goes against investigation or history. Let it be arcana for the wizard or the sorcerer.
Right.
Your cleric that was, a little while back, let it be divine religion, to figure out. But use the class and figure out what the class has as their main ability, and go after that and let them, roll an arcana. Maybe you'll know some. Yeah, in your studies or in your classes and so on, they brought this up as an example. It's like, I remember that. Okay, this is this, or this has this, and I think it's called this. Don't be afraid to use notes to pass back and forth. And
So-
like we mentioned earlier, 5e makes it so easy to create campaigns. Let somebody else run a portion of your campaign. Even if it's something totally different from yours, it can still work out. And we've got a class on how to merge campaigns.
So-
we've got that too.
Well, thanks. We're excited about the Spelljammer, bringing that back. We saw that originally around 2nd edition. So as you guys are looking for your next games, if you haven't yet, check out Spelljammer, and then make a wizard character and go enjoy all of that. Because there is...
Yeah.
Spelljammer.
100%.
You
So,
may want to consider picking up psionics because there's a few creatures out there that use psionics.
Yeah.
it's a very cool setting, and it's been well presented here in the 5th edition.
Yes.
So, you know, if you're interested in playing a wizard, sorcerer, or warlock, and you're going to be getting into Spelljammer, it's definitely a good pair because you're going to have a lot of cool things that you can do specifically your barbarian might not be able to handle.
Absolutely. Your barbarian's not going to be able to do a damn thing.
Create a mind flayer sorcerer. That's what I thought.
Nope, Space Hamster.
I want the flying squirrels.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a
But I'll tell you right now, ship-to-ship combat is Fireball.
Lightning bolt. Fireball.
Chain lightning.
Yeah, so
yeah, chain lightning. I
Yeah.
love that spell.
did you guys have
Fire snake.
anything else that you want to bring out or highlight about 5th edition's Wizards?
No.
Troy?
Wizards, warlocks, and sorcerers.
Everybody's got one.
That's right.
So I don't know of anybody that I've either played with or talked with at different game stores that has any kind of issue with either the Magic users in general or fifth edition. Really.
Yeah, Wizards have been well executed. Magic, I think, is one of the stronger parts of 5th edition. So if you haven't played one yet, pick one up, learn the sort of the minutia around it. It can be a little complicated to get a handle on it first, but it's not too bad. So
Go to your local game store because there's going to be some games going on. Ask around. Put a note up on a board. Check out their Facebook page as well. Play local, buy local, guys. We can't emphasize that enough because you will never be disappointed, ever. And you can catch us on...
you'll be able to find us at I Want to Be a GM on Twitch, YouTube, Discord. You can also find some of our events listed over at 417gamesandevents.com. It's a calendar for local events in the 417 area, but we've also got national and other regional events available. So be sure to check that out, and you'll never miss a con again. Beyond that, you can like, subscribe, share, comment, make fun of Gwydion, however you see this video.
It's funny, yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm Jester Borris, where I Want to Be a GM, and this has been Dungeons and Dragons Through the Ages, Part 4, The Wizard. On my right,
I'm Troy, the Planescape guy.
and to my left.
Gwydion the Long-Winded. Thanks
And-
for playing.
We'll see you next time as we get into Part 5, The Rogue.
Yes.